move it, we move it, we move it, we move it, move it, we move it, we move it,
You were just listening to MBUBE by the South African group Solomon Linda and the Evening Birds, recorded in 1939. This is the original version of the song The Lion Sleeps Tonight by the Tokens, and about which we had spoken in the last episode.
Welcome to Music, the Unifying Force. I'm here with Yusuf Gandhi, my friend, and renowned musicologist.
No, I'm not a musicologist. I hate
like
that.
Play one on TV. And I'm Janis Siegel. I was a member of the Manhattan Transfer for 50 years and a music lover since the day I was born. Music, the Unifying Force, is going to explore in conversation how music not only unites a particular culture in keeping connections and history alive within that culture, spreading news and gossip, but also how musical cultures around the world can fuse and become a brand new thing.
Last time we went through the history almost of how music has evolved. This time we wanted to now show you exactly how it unifies people, different races, different cultures. And it's a very important part of music because, as we said earlier, the notes are the same, it's just how people interpret it.
Except, can I just say, except maybe in Indian culture, where you got all these little mini, what are they called?
What we call quarter notes.
Well, that even more.
More than that, yes.
More than that. You've got the subdivisions of pitch that we don't have.
Because they like bend the notes in a different way. And it's in Indian music, it's called meend, M-E-E-N-D, I guess how you would spell it, but they have their own Indian way of spelling it. It is important that way, but still, the notes are there in that bend of the note. And that's why many people sort of gravitate toward different music forms, because musicians are always looking to learn. They're not just in it that they know everything once they've graduated from a major conservatory. To them, they know there's so much to learn. You can never learn enough. You know, we all find out, we're much older now, but we still find out every time we speak to a musician from somewhere else, you learn something new about what can be done with music. And that's the most important part of music. And that's why it unifies, because people are always learning, they're searching for knowledge.
Well, I think we touched on this last time we talked, that musicians seem to be inherently curious. And that's why you get a lot of these incredible fusions of musical cultures. When we last spoke, we were talking about the influence of Africa on American music and how in the late 1600s till about the 1800s, there was a musical culture brought from Africa, folk blues and work songs, field hollers, rural gospel, that was brought from Africa. And now we're going to start to talk about how that developed, right?
Yes.
In America. It started the whole beautiful wheel of American blues and folk music. Well, not so much folk music maybe, but country and western and jazz and pop and swing and bop, and it just started the whole thing off. So here we are in a country that exemplified the use of slaves, but they brought with them this music that kept them connected.
Yes, that's the most important thing about this. If you look at how African Americans and the white Anglo-Saxons who were here, I think the first thing that united them was music in a way. Because you would see right from then, from the early days, as we talked about Scott Joplin and stride piano, and we talked about how the white musicians also started listening to all that. And Elvis Presley hung out with African Americans on Beale Street, and you had other people like Frank Sinatra and Sammy Davis. Through the years, you will see that grow, and one of the people who really stood up for them was Frank Sinatra. You know, he talked about Nat King Cole, I believe, that when Nat King Cole was supposed to eat in a kitchen, he said, if Nat King Cole is eating there, I'm not playing for you anymore.
There were a lot of white entertainers that stood up. Marilyn Monroe was one. She was a great champion of Ella Fitzgerald's. And Frank Sinatra certainly did.
Yes, Frank Sinatra was very much a driver for that, because otherwise Sammy Davis would not have been able to play in Las Vegas in a way almost. You know, he was in the vaudeville part of it. So we can even start with vaudeville about the black faces that...
Well, even before that, you've got ragtime music. And it was really fascinating for me to delve into exactly what a rag is, and that it's actually used as a verb as well. To rag a melody meant to syncopate it. And so ragtime just describes instrumental music or songs played with syncopation. The notes are not necessarily swung, because that's coming later with drummers in America evolving in that way. But there's rhythmic emphasis that has not appeared before. And this music is played in brothels, at house parties, in bars, in saloons. The most recognizable and common trait is syncopation. And the 2/4 meter, which is a march, basically. A lot of the early rags are in 2/4. One thing I would love to play is the very first rag that was published, the HARLEM rag by a guy named TURPIN. We're talking about 1899, maybe even 1897, something like that. And this is what it sounds like. That must have been revolutionary.
Yes, at that time, sure.
At that time. And there was also dancing. There was a cakewalk. It was fascinating to learn about the history of this dance, because the enslaved African Americans would do this dance, and it was really mocking the formal stiffness of their white slaveholders. And the winning couple in these competitions would receive a cake. So that's where the expression comes from. Like if something's really easy, it's a cakewalk, or you take the cake, you know, those kind of expressions. It was initially called the prize walk, not the cakewalk. As the prize, you would get a cake. So you have all of these innovators of this syncopated music that started usually on the piano.
Yes, and a lot of that dancing actually came even in Africa, in South Africa. They had what they called the shebeens during the apartheid years, and in the villages, these people were dancing all the time to their own South African music, and it was illegal for them to do that, and then police would come and, you know, it was, to try and stop them, but that's what they were doing. That type of music that's what we're talking about, syncopation, because the dancers also had, and when we look at what happened with tap dancing, that was sort of essence of syncopation in a way.
We were talking about this earlier, off camera and away from the microphones. I was wondering who thought of this concept. I mean, what part of, say, the African character developed the idea of syncopating a melody? It does provide excitement and anticipation. It's moving forward to anticipate a note.
That's what came from the African tribes. In fact, a lot of them used to, stomp on the ground also to scare away the animals. They were enjoying doing it, and each one would be playing against each other's rhythms. That's how syncopation came around. They didn't write anything. It just came from the heart.
This all came from the heart. All of this music. That's the basis of American music. It's from Africa. You also have Scott Joplin, who we mentioned last time, the Maple Leaf Rag, and of course his most famous piece,
Yep-to-Dana.
Yeah, that was in the movie The Sting. It was probably the first time I heard any kind of ragtime piano.
And it became a massive, after so many years.
Something very, very appealing about that tune. You've got Jelly Roll Morton, amazing, innovative musician. Keyboard Stomp, Black Bottom Stomp, The Crave, that's probably my favorite. You've got some real syncopated and, I don't know, Latin-esque influence in there from the Caribbean.
Yes.
In New Orleans. Jelly Roll Morton, I'm not sure if he was from New Orleans. We're not sure about that. We mentioned this the last time. My friend Bobby Sonario calls it the northernmost city of the Caribbean. So you've got all of that influence there. You've got Eubie Blake. They're all writing all of this amazing music, and bands are starting.
The horn section, in a way, started with all their funeral marches, which was in New Orleans. Basically, when the Saints Go Marching In is a funeral march, but it became a major jazz standard with Louis Armstrong.
I think that's what I want at my funeral. I want to march. I want people marching in the street, dancing.
Yeah, they would be dancing, actually. It was always playing against the straight 1, 2, 4.
So, yeah, you've got this completely unique place, New Orleans, that's evolving due to the influence of African and Caribbean forms, call and response, chants, drumming, all of that is happening in New Orleans. In Storyville, you've got all the brothels, and the brothels have music.
Correct.
So you've got Louis Armstrong, who played with Fletcher Henderson. You've got Freddie Keppard's Jazz Cardinals, Buddy Bolden, Sidney Bechet, the father of the soprano saxophone. And maybe we should hear a little bit of King Oliver. I think that was Louis' big idol. We got a little bit of DIPPERMOUTH blues here. Louis was a big admirer of King Oliver, but Louis did play with Fletcher Henderson.
Yes, he did.
Yes, getting his chops together. The tune was Sugarfoot Stomp. Fletcher Henderson, I have to say, is one of my favorite arrangers.
Yes.
Of that period in any period. Because
actually, he was, I think, one of the real pioneers of tune.
That's why Benny Goodman snapped him up. He knew what was up. Having sung some of Fletcher Henderson's arrangements, a couple, because John Hendricks wrote lyrics to Down South Camp Meeting and some other tunes that Fletcher Henderson had arranged, Chasing You Sinners. You've got your call and response going on. You've got these modulations that instead of going up, go down. And yet they give you this thrill of being on a roller coaster. Suddenly you're at the top and then, whoa, you're going down. And it's an excitement about it. You'd think it would only be exciting if you raised the key, but he developed this system of modulations within an arrangement that was really exciting.
Of course, when we're talking about singing, you can't forget, again, Louis Armstrong's whole scatting.
Well, that was the beginning.
Yes, that was the beginning of scatting.
It probably was. I mean, the myth is, or the story is, that he dropped the lyrics at some recording session and just started making up words and sounds.
Dinah, Dinah, oh, Dinah, oh, there's Dinah,
I think because he was an instrumentalist, he sang as an instrumentalist. It was a different way of singing rather than just singing a song, like directly from the sheet music. He sang like an instrumentalist with all of the inflection and dynamics that an instrument would add to a song.
Yeah, and when you talk about scatting and, just uttering syllables instead of lyrics, it's something that is traditional in Indian music.
Do tell.
Music in India started from the temples. The story goes that Tansen, a great Mughal musician in the, one of the emperor's courts, he started listening to this temple music. He realized he could not understand the lyrics in the sense that some of it was to the various gods.
A common complaint.
What he did was he started improvising.
Oh, wow.
And he called that khayal. Khayal means thoughts. So basically his thoughts on what he was listening to, but he did it in terms of syllables. And that's how the whole improvisation in Indian vocals came in. So you see these things happening, and that's where the unification comes in. And even like Louis Armstrong, when he came to India, he wanted to listen to Indian music. He was not exactly listening to anything. Same with Duke Ellington, also with Dave Brubeck. All of them, when they came to perform through the State Department in those days, they would want to go and listen to Indian musicians.
Well, whoever came up with the idea of musical ambassadorships was a genius, because they realized that music is the unifying force. Mm-hmm. From my travels in this world, people idolize American music. Mm-hmm. They really do. Whereas when I go over there, I also want to hear the native music. Mm-hmm. For instance, I'm just about to go to Bulgaria. I'm going to have a Bulgarian vocal group sit in with me. Mm-hmm. What I want to sing is some of the songs from the Bulgarian women's choir, right, like Theodora is dozing. But they want to do a minute transfer song. But in any case, it's bringing us together, certainly. Going back to the great Fletcher Henderson, we've got a little 20-second piece of Fletcher Henderson here, and this does feature Louis Armstrong. This is one of his first gigs, so let's hear that. Sugarfoot Stomp, 1925. Coleman Hawkins is in this band. Don Redman is in this band. Buster Bailey is in this band. Wow. I mean, I already feel like dancing. The guitar has not come to prominence yet in this kind of a band. You've got the banjo.
Yeah.
You've got the tuba instead of a
bass. You have clarinet and, and it's basically almost like a marching band instrumentation.
That's right.
That's what it was,
Except they're sitting.
And actually, now when we're looking at this sort of instrumentation, in Mexican music, there's a style of music, genre of music called banda. And banda is exactly that instrumentation. They don't have bass, it's tuba, it's saxophone, trumpet, and we'll have to talk about it later when we go further in it. But just like we were talking about, John Hendricks preserved the vocals initially, and then of course Manhattan transferred over from it. There was a singer who died in a plane crash very young. Her name is Jenny Rivera, and she was the one who preserved the banda. So when she sang, it was always with the banda. But
no guitars?
No, actually, I think sometimes, but really no guitars, actually. She would fill out the Staples Center and places like that when she performed.
This makes me think, just going off on a little riff here, of the slaves that went south instead of going north. Yes. They went to Mexico. Mm-hmm. So maybe that was the fusion and the thing that where the musical cultures met.
It's very possible. Anything is possible because musicians are always seeing what new things they can do. And if you've not listened to her, you should listen to Jenny Rivera.
I would love to, because really I'm not that familiar with different styles of Mexican music. I only know mariachi, where it's basically a little guitar orchestra with trumpet. Bass is taken over by this huge guitar.
Use a bass guitar, yeah.
Acoustic bass guitar. It's got a great sound. It's a very distinctive style. Definitely. And this is something for our audience to check as well, if you're interested in that. Another thing that I was curious about in this particular period is the difference between a rag and a stomp. And I guess they're pretty much the same, but possibly the stomps were defined more by rhythm. And maybe the name comes from what you were saying before, the African people dancing by stomping their feet to scare away the animals, certainly. And the Native Americans.
Native Americans do that. It's all over the world.
Yeah, it's all over the world.
We're talking about bluegrass music, like there was clogging, the same.
Oh, yeah. Is that from Ireland?
It's from Ireland, and then it was mainly in like the Carolinas and those places where the Irish was in there.
And there's a vocal style, too, called diddling. That is fascinating. I have some recordings of that. It's kind of, I want to say, beatboxing, but it's using these syllables to provide this rhythm for dancing when they didn't have, I guess, they couldn't afford a band maybe, or there was no band. These singers would sing this improvisations, basically, just using their voice for dancing. Yeah, I just thought of that, actually. I'm going to have to bring in some recordings of that.
For the listeners, we want you to open your minds to all music, because when you try to understand the culture of various countries, you will see basically a more connected than divided. And that's what is the most important thing. We're all human beings.
I'm not sure about that. But go on.
Yes. Sometimes when I say we are all united and we are all in many ways equal, and I think of the movie, Kevin Costner, when he said that we all pee the same color. That was in Hidden Figures.
When she's complaining.
That's because of the segregated bathrooms. So he said there shouldn't be segregation in bathrooms. This is so important to us to, respect each other. And the whole thing about music, it shows you that different cultures respect each other. You go to a concert, you'll see all types of people. It doesn't matter what type of music it is. A lot of people of all different faiths, colors, and religions, and sort of lifestyles. And it's something that's so important to us. That's what this is all about. Music, the unifying force.
That's what it's all about. We'll be talking soon, very soon, about some of the women that were involved in this period musically. The great blues singers and some of the female ragtime players.
And the blues guitarists.
And the blues guitarists, certainly.
The women who almost dominated the blues in a way.
Oh, very much so.
Yeah.
Ma Rainey.
Big Mama Thornton, Bessie Smith.
Yeah. Seppi Wallace, Ida Cox, and Blind Lemon Jefferson, Muddy Waters, Lead Belly, Al. We touched on how much they influenced the British musicians. That whole British invasion, it's almost like a mirror reflecting our culture back to us through these other eyes. Because I grew up during that period. The British invasion dominated the airwaves. Of course the Beatles. But then all of these other British groups that were so influenced by American blues musicians.
Once again, thank you for listening. We'll be with you soon again. This is Music, the Unifying Force. I'm Yusuf Gandhi.
I'm Janis Siegel. Stay open.
Let's have some good feeling with SARA Tavares.
I'm more feeling